Good evening, everyone. So today we are having the Wednesday webinar on Pune River Revival, our weekly webinar. And today we have a very interesting personality, and I'll give a quick introduction. And that's a very nice, enlightening topic, which maybe not many of us would be aware, especially we have been working more on the rivers, and tend to forget other ecosystems. Dr. Aboli Kulkarni actually holds a PhD in botany, but she's done a lot more than botany. So yeah, she's also a master's in biodiversity. She's a big thing and has several publications to her credit. And she has also she has won numerous awards and achievements to her credit, including very interestingly, Prime Minister's trophy for sailing from Goa to Bombay. So I found that very interesting. She's the co-founder currently of Green Concepts, which is a leading ecological services company in Pune. They do question assessment, which is again a very required thing, very essential thing now. She's an accomplished ecologist, and we are fortunate to have her today to talk about the Rocky Plateaus. She also, interestingly, has done some work on the Mula Muta River, the distribution of Odonata. So we find that very interesting, and also I think few things on the river and system she has. But though her major work is on the plateaus, which we may not be very conversant with. And she's also recently won a Grassland Trust grant for what was that? I think for her, I think some specific work, right? The work it is going to
Uh,
happen.
so I received a grant from Habitat Trust for carbon sequestration of plants.
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, thank you. Thanks. So over to you, Aboli. You can start your presentations.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here to talk to you today about the rock outcrops, or more commonly known as plateaus or SARs or Pathar. So let's talk about their uniqueness, why they are unique, why do we study them, what's so special about them, and also let's talk about what kind of plants live there on the rock outcrops and how they are different from the plants in the surrounding areas. Uh, yeah, talk about what are rock, okay,
Your
why they're
voice is
interesting.
getting,
A little,
yeah, it's actually, it's not gone to the next slide, and your voice is also getting little cut. Your clarity is very bad.
uh, sorry, just give me a second.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yes. Sorry to keep you waiting. Sorry, all of you. So this is going to be the general structure of the talk, wherein let's start first talking about what are rock outcrops, why they are interesting, then the peculiar vegetation which grows on it, the adaptations, and why first plants need adaptation and what kind of adaptations help them survive on these habitats, what are the threats, and conservation. Okay, so rock outcrop is an exposed part of the bedrock which is rising above the mountain tops. So this is a picture of Karst Plateau. So if you have been to Karst Plateau, you know, like from the Ghats section of the Karst Plateau, the mountain with a flat top, it looks like that. And there are many such plateaus all over in the Western Ghats, especially in the northern part of Western Ghats. We have many different types of plateaus. We are going to talk about them. Uh, and when you go to the plateau, it looks like this. So the large proportion of the plateau or of the rock outcrop is a bare rock. So it is an exposed bedrock which is rising above because of the weathering. So because of the heavy rainfall, the leaching and weathering, the bedrock itself is exposed. There is very little soil, and lots of the area is actually the exposed bedrock. So to qualify a rock being a rock outcrop, according to literature, they say that at least 50% of the area should be bare rock. Then only you can call any landscape as a rock outcrop. The rock outcrop is a stressful habitat. So if you go to any outcrop in the summer season, mostly for 8 months of the year, it looks like this. So it looks completely dry and barren. And when in the monsoon, so if you start visiting the rock outcrops from now on, there will be different kinds of species which are growing there. So mostly herbaceous species. We are also going to talk about it, why only herbaceous species, but it looks like, a mini valley of flowers. So completely covered by a carpet of flowers and different species of grasses as well. And it looks really, really beautiful. If you haven't been to any plateaus yet, in Mahabaleshwar, in Pachkani, or in Kas, then definitely this time do visit. They look really, really, really beautiful. So, because the rock, it's completely covered by rock surfaces, soil is very, very less. So there are very stressful environmental conditions. So whatever sunlight we get on the plateaus, so it heats up the rock up to 50 degrees Celsius, because there is very little soil. So there is very little nutrients available for the plants. So these habitats are oligotrophic. So plants have to deal with high light and wind intensities as well as low nutrients. The water is available seasonally, and when it is available, like monsoon, we are facing the flooding and everything. It happens every year on the plateaus. So every year plateaus get flooded with water. And then once the monsoon is over, after October or November, they become completely dry. So plants have to deal with lot of water. When inundation happens, plants have to deal with the inundations, that is the flooding. And also when there is dry season, so they also have to deal with water scarcity. Okay, so now to deal with all these different types of environmental extremes, the vegetation, the kind of vegetation which also grows on these habitats is different. But let's first talk about where do they occur. Okay, so rock outcrops occur all over the world. So this is a map showing the location of outcrops all over the world. Now they are made up of different bedrocks. The composition, the chemical composition of the bedrock is different because of the different geological history of different parts of the world. So let's quickly uh, learn about different types of outcrops. So Inselbergs, this is the most common type of rock outcrop, which is found in many parts of the world. Okay, so it is found in Brazil, it is found in Madagascar, it is found in Africa, it is found in India, it is also found in Australia. So these are nothing but dome-shaped monolithic structures, which are rising above the surrounding landscapes. So if you start going towards the Bangalore side, or from Bangalore to Coimbatore, all over the place, all over the, like on the road side, you will see these Inselbergs. Okay. Then another type is serpentine barrens. So serpentine barrens are rock outcrops having a very high heavy metal content. They are found in southern eastern parts of US. Then we have something called as ferricretes. So jala apan lateritic outcrops or zamba, what we call as zamba khadak. So those are nothing but ferricretes. So these are plateaus or rock outcrops which are rich in oxides of iron and aluminum, which are found, of course, in India. So Kars is a ferricrete, or the plateaus which are found in the Konkan region are ferricretes. They are also found in Madagascar. They are also found in Eastern Africa and also in Brazil. And we have a specialized kind of plateaus which are made up of basalt. So if you go to north of Pune, Bhimashankar and Zunnar side, the plateaus which are present there are basalt plateaus. So if you have seen Sholay, or if you have been to Mahabalipuram, then you have seen Inselberg. Or if you have been to Kars Plateau, then you have definitely seen a ferricrete. Or if you have been to Bhimashankar or Zunnar area, then you have definitely seen a basalt plateau. So this is different types of rock outcrops which are found in India. So we have outcrops which are rich in iron and aluminum. We have basalt outcrops. We have outcrops of sandstone, quartzite, and limestone distributed in different parts of India. Let's focus on Western Ghats. So in Western Ghats, we have three basic types of plateaus. So we have ferricretes, which are distributed on high altitude, which are high level ferricretes, and low altitude, which are called as low level ferricretes. We also have basalt plateaus, and all of the mountain passes which we go to, like we go from Western Ghats to Konkan. So whatever mountain passes we see, so the 90-degree cliffs which are there, which we see from the mountain passes, they are also a part of rock outcrops. So rock outcrops is a kind of umbrella term for all of these different types of outcrops. So outcrops is nothing but something which is protruding above the surface, and which should be, because the term is rock outcrop, so it is rocky in nature. Okay. Okay, I've already spoken about this. Okay, so let's take a transverse section of the Northern Western Ghats, and let's see the distribution of these different types of plateaus. So plateaus like Khas, which are south of Pune. So 18 degree is, you can imagine this as a Pune city. And south of Pune, so Satara, Kolhapur, yeah, all this going up to Goa. So the flat top mountains, the rock outcrops situated here are called as high-level ferricretes. These are lateritic outcrops, but because they are situated on the high altitude, the geological history, the vegetation, and also the environmental conditions which are there, which are present here, are different. Then, north of Pune city, so north of 18-degree latitude, we have something called as basalt mesa. So these are basalt plateaus. So areas like Bhimashankar and Junnar. And in the Konkan region, next to the Arabian Sea, we also have lateritic outcrops here, but because they are situated here on the low altitude, their geological history and the kind of vegetation is different, and also the kind of environmental conditions which are present here. I won't go into details of this, but if anybody is interested, I can talk to you later on about it. Okay, so why do we study them? Okay, there are so many different kinds of outcrops. What's so special about them? So first is the environmental conditions. The environment is extreme there because of seasonal water availability, soil cover is less, nutrients is less. So whatever plants which grow there, they have to deal with these extreme conditions. And because they have to deal with these extreme conditions, they have come up with different kind of adaptations. So we are going to talk about different kind of adaptations. Because of these adaptations, they become very, very specialized to these habitats. So there are some species, like Aponogeton satarensis, which are found only in 2 or 3 locations. Yeah, newer and newer species getting described because there is lots and lots of scope for speciation because the conditions are very extreme. So plants become very specialized. That is also the reason there is high proportion of endemism on rock outcrop. Up to 30% of endemism is there on rock outcrops. And geologically, they are older surfaces. So they are kind of center of speciation. And in the current climate change scenario, there are some studies which also show that there can be climatic refugia considering the current climate change scenario. So that's the reason these landscapes are very, very interesting. There are many, many unanswered questions about it. And there are also various application-oriented questions which can be answered and which can be used to, solve the questions like, how do crops will deal with the changing climate and the temperatures which are erratic in nature. Currently the rainfall is erratic. So how do crops can actually deal with it? So we can get a lot of insights from these plants. So because
Aboli, just wanted to interrupt here because
Sorry.
even I had this question, what is climatic refugia? Maybe it will be good to know right now so that we can understand later. But
Yes. So, okay. So there is a concept called as old climatically buffered infertile landscapes. So sorry, I do not have the image right now of it. But there is one biologist from Australia, Steve Hopper. So he came up with this concept in year 2000, dividing the entire landscapes in the world into Oakbill and Yard fells. So Oakbill is old and climatically buffered infertile landscapes. So all of our rock outcrops fall into this category. So these landscapes have been there since a long time. So even before the continental drift happened, these landscapes were still like that there. And then the continental drift happened. That's the reason we have these outcrops distributed in many different types, in many different parts of the world. Okay. So this is the area which have been kind of protected from the lots of changes which have been happening in the geological time scale, not because of the climate change. Okay. And because these surfaces they are oligotrophic surfaces. Okay. So they have very less nutrients. So the plants which are growing here, they have already kind of learned how to deal with these extremities. So that is the reason they say that climatically buffered means the plants have learned how to deal with these different kinds of situations. And also they are going to be helpful when, so the surrounding areas which are other than rock outcrops have undergone a lot of changes. And now because of the anthropogenic pressures, anthropogenic differences, industrialization, whatever climate change we are facing, so they say that these plants or the plants which can actually invade, this is actually not a very good sentence to say in conservation time, conservation perspective, but I'll still say that. So if certain plants can actually learn to grow on rock outcrops, then rock outcrop can actually act as a climatic refuge, because the climate has been very stable on these surfaces. So that's the reason people have been saying that these areas can act as climatic refugia. I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, so it's more like climate resistant type of ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I
Okay.
am also going to talk about an adaptation called as desiccation tolerance. So desiccation tolerance is nothing but these plants can actually survive 80 to 90% of water loss. So these landscapes are extremely dry. When you visit them after November, December, they're extremely dry. So there are many grass species which they look dry and dead, but they are not actually dead. They are actually maintaining their metabolism at a very, very low level. And whenever there is water availability, they just bounce back without dying. So it's called as drying without dying. So there is one working group. Mm, Her name is Jill Farrant. So I think she's in Australia. I forgot where she is. Yeah. So what their group is doing is they are trying to actually look at the genes which are responsible for the phenomenon or for this property of desiccation tolerance and how this can be translated into crops, into future crops, so that in the drought prone areas can actually take advantage of these genes, and if there is some hybrid variety possible which can actually tolerate the drought conditions. So this is a very application oriented research which can happen because of the adaptations which are seen on rock outcrops. Shall I go ahead?
Yes. Please go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, I think that
Okay.
explains a lot.
Yes. So because the landscape is totally rocky with very, very less soil. So the soil can get accumulated in the crevices. And whenever there is kind of depression, so over the year, there is a organic matter and dead organic matter and soil formation happens. But most of the area is rocky. That's the reason the vegetation is edaphically controlled. And that is also the reason herbaceous vegetation is dominant. So only where there are little crevices, then there is a small pocketed forest there. But interestingly, these forests are stunted forest. These are not like how we usually see in the other parts of the Western Ghats, because again, the soil is very less. The nutrient wise, it's not very good. It's poor. And also the because of the high wind intensities, the trees tend to be stunted, and most of the area is actually dominated by various herbs and various grasses. And there is a very interesting phytogeographical similarity that there are certain genera. So I was talking about these ogbils, no? So because these landscapes have been climatically buffered and safe from the other changes which have been happening, there are very interesting sharing between the genera, as well as there are some species like Ramphicarpa fissulosa, which is distributed all over the tropical regions. Wherever rock outcrops are present, you will find this species. So there are some species which are worldwide, like cosmopolitan in nature, and there are some genera which are common between tropical, paleotropical, especially Inselbergs, and then they have different species which are growing in different areas, but the genera are shared. And this vegetation on rock outcrops is often defined by various microhabitats. So these microhabitats are defined based on the water permanence. So for how much time that particular area can hold the water, and also the availability of the soil. So these are just some of the microhabitats which are present on rock outcrops. So bare rock, so no soil cover or very little soil cover in the lateritic pores which are there. Then we have something called as crevices. So wherever there is a crack in the rock, so there is some soil accumulation. Then there are some deep soil field depressions. So whenever there is a depression in the soil, depression in the rock, sorry, the soil accumulation happens here. So some areas, it happens between 0 to 30 centimeters. So it is called a shallow soil field areas. If it goes about above 30 centimeter up to 1 meter somewhere, then it's a deep soil field depressions. Then rock pools. So wherever there are depressions in the rock, the water accumulates. So some rock pools have water for like 15 days or 1 month. Some rock pools can hold water up to 3 to 4 months. So depending upon the depression, the water accumulates. There is also something called as ephemeral flush vegetation. So wherever there is a little depression and continuous seepage of water, a very specialized kind of vegetation develops, which is called as ephemeral flush vegetation. So I won't go into lots of details of the species, but there is this very specific plant community of Utricularias, which is an insectivorous plant, eriocolons. So the purple ones are, the white ones are eriocolons, the blue ones are Utricularia, and the purple ones are impatiens. So this is a very specialized kind of plant community, which occurs here in this particular type of microhabitat. If you're interested in details, you can go through this paper of ours where we are reviewing the diversity, adaptations, and also the microhabitat-wise classification of rock outcrops. And we have also compared it to different outcrops of the world. Okay, so apart from this different types of vegetation and different types of outcrops, rock outcrops are actually laboratories of speciation, I would say, because over the years there have been many new species which have been described from these landscapes. So let's focus on this black line. So black line is the total number of species, novel species, which have been described after 1990. So as you can see, it's the almost linear increase here. So every year there are many new species getting described. There are various reasons for it. First is since almost 20 years since Dr. Aparna Vatve and colleagues started actually this very special work on rock outcrops, there have been a lot of awareness about these ecosystems which were treated as barren lands. So sadly, the Geological Survey of India classified earlier these lands as barren lands, and the general uh, uh, belief was nothing really grows here. But then later on, after a lot of research by a lot of people all over India, especially in the Western Ghats, this mindset is actually changing. And Kars is also now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and Mahabaleshwar Pasgani area is an eco-sensitive zone. So there have been a lot of efforts describing their biodiversity and also conserving the biodiversity. And in all this time, people are also finding newer and newer species. The second reason is, I already spoke about it, is because the conditions are extreme here. So plants over the years or over the geological timescales have shown many different types of adaptations, and many of the times also it has resulted into speciation. That's also the reason that newer and newer species are getting described day after day from plateaus. Okay, so now let's talk about adaptations. So we already talked about why do they need them to deal with the extreme environment. Now, what are the different adaptations? Let's talk about it. So succulents is a desiccation avoidance strategy. So because the water availability is only there for 4 to 5 months, so there are some plants which have adopted this strategy, wherein they have thick and fleshy leaves which are used to retain the water. So the water is retained in the plant tissues like leaves, stems, and roots. So on the cliffs, which are vertical rock outcrops, we have very interesting species like Freria indica and Sarcostemma intermedium. And on plateaus, like which are flat horizontal surfaces, we have something called as Cynotis concordanensis and Cynotis fasciculata. So if any of you are interested in looking at this species, so if you go to CAS this year, you will definitely get to see these species. So observe their thick, fleshy leaves. So that's where they store the water. So this is their strategy to deal with the desiccation. Then I already spoke about desiccation tolerance. So this is the ability to recover from almost a complete loss of protoplasmic water. So they tend to lose 80 to 90% of the cellular water, and they can survive for 7 to 8 months of drought. And whenever the water is available, they can just bounce back. So if you are interested in learning more about it, reading more about it, this is our paper documenting different species from Western Ghats. There is another adaptation called as geophytes. So these are plants with some kind of underground perennial part. So maybe tuber, maybe core, maybe bulb. So they are the first one to flower in monsoon. So what happens is the flower, they first, with the first onset or first monsoon showers, they flower, they fruit, and whenever the conditions are unfavorable, the above ground biomass, so like the leaves, the stem, the flowers, fruits, everything, dies, and then they remain alive as a tuber or bulb during the unfavorable season. Whenever the season is favorable, again they sprout back. So this is also a desiccation avoidance strategy, but with having a underground perennial part. So they are the perennial plants. So many different ground orchids like Habenaria, Hainiana, Habenaria rariflora, Habenaria patzganensis, they are geophytes. Many different species of Ceropegia, also Dipkadi, they are geophytes because they have underground perennial part. Then there is another adaptation known as carnivory. So carnivory is an adaptation for nutrient poor substrates. So these plants obtain nutrients, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, through phytoplankton, zooplanktons, and small nematodes and insects. So they have their photosynthetic apparatus. It's not like, they don't have it, that they are not completely dependent on insects, but a part of their nutrient comes from insects. So they have underground traps, especially the utricularias have underground traps wherein whatever comes through the water, they just trap and obtain their nutrients. So we have different species of utricularia, which are carnivorous, which grow on rock outcrops. And we have two species of Drosera burmani and Drosera indica, which grows on rock outcrops. And just to tell you that there are some species of utricularia which are very specific to rock outcrops, but especially some species of utricularia and also Drosera, they are also found in other habitats than rock outcrops. So other waterlogged habitats, you can see them. Okay, this is a very, very interesting adaptation known as mat formation. So as you can see here in this picture, is there is a little depression in the rock and lot of species which are growing very gregariously here. So whatever nutrients which are present here in this little depression, so plants want to make maximum use of these nutrients and grow together. So this is something called as mat formation. So when they grow together, it actually also helps them anchor the area, because there is not much scope for anchorage. Whatever little organic debris are there, they live on that. And because they grow very close to each other, then they can also take help of each other for, you know, sticking on to that particular area. So mat formation is a very, very interesting adaptation. Then hydrophytes. There are various species which also grow in these seasonal ponds or rock pools. So the rock pools are going to have water for various duration during the season. So sometimes if there is a dry spell followed by wet spell, then many of the times these rock pools get completely dry, or sometimes they can also remain throughout the season depending upon the rainfall. So species like Aponogeton satarensis or Wisneria triandra, they grow in comparatively shallow rock pools, whereas Nymphia indica, so if you go to cast, then you can see different, I think there is different species of Nymphia which is found there, which is a little Kumudini lake. So that's a little bit deeper lake or deeper rock pool wherein you can find these species. So different species grow in different depths of rock pools. Okay, so we talked about various different adaptations, and these are the various conditions, or these are various environmental extremes. And to deal with these environmental extremes, plants have come up with different types of adaptations. Like to deal with seasonally wet habitats, there is adaptation of desiccation tolerance, geophytism, dwarfism, plants tend to be dwarf, and there is also carnivory. To deal with soil limitation, again, geophytism, because especially these areas, they can actually, you know, there, if you see their tuber, it actually, sorry, is there in small rock crevices. Then there is dwarfism, yeah, because there is not much soil, so plants tend to be dwarf, and there is also carnivory to deal with the nutrient limitation. Yes, and again, with nutrient limitation, carnivory is the adaptation, then dwarfism is there, geophytism. So many of this adaptation is answer to many of these different environmental extremes. So this is how this intricate balance between the environmental extremes and these adaptation work. Okay, so now let's talk about threats. So although we have many plateaus on the crest of the Western Ghats and also in the Konkan region, but because there is no proper legal protection to it nowadays, there is to some areas there are also many threats. First of all, they are lateritic plateaus, so they are source of, you know, these lateritic rocks. So there is a lot of mining happens. This particular picture is from one of the places in Konkan region. So lot of plateaus are actually, you know, threatened because of the mining issues. Then construction happens, because this is especially the case in the Konkan plateaus, because the plateaus are actually privately owned. So the owner can actually decide what to do here. So a lot of construction happening here. Then this particular picture is from Salkevade plateau. So the windmills are there because these areas are situated on high altitude, so very high wind intensities, and also uncontrolled grazing happens. One of the threats. Tourism is another threat. This is a picture from Karst Plateau. So uncontrolled tourism is again a threat to the vegetation. So there should be habitat specific conservation strategies. So site specific conservation strategies are very important, very essential, because the species are very, very specific, and newer species are getting described every day. And if we lose this habitat, then we really don't know how many species we are going to lose. And species level conservation should also happen. So IUCN threat assessments first to know like how many species are threatened and at what stage they are. And also it is important that we protect the microhabitat, because these species are very, very specific to different microhabitats. Yes, so it's 8:45. So that's it from me, and we can continue our discussion. So thank you so much. And we are open to discussion.
It was really very eye-opening and very different things which we are seeing, which we are not used to seeing. All these grasses, and I think there is also a lot of we can say different fauna and even maybe endemic fauna also existing on this. Probably today's topic will not be covering that, but I
Yes.
think that is also equally interesting this thing. And yeah, hopefully we get to see some of this plateaus without actually disturbing. Like, so when you said, tourism is a big threat. So we need to be very mindful of that when we are touring all these places to make sure that these are not disturbed.
Yes.
And
Yes. Mindful
yeah,
tourism
other thing.
definitely we need, because I mean, it's good to see this species. It's absolutely uh, wonderful to see these plateaus in when they are in full bloom. Only thing is that we need responsible tourism.
Correct, correct. I think what you mentioned, what you actually narrated today, the importance of this species and where. So I think how this reaches to the common person, that's very equally important, because most of us today, we always feel that forests are the only things which are worth conserving, and other things are, we can actually start for trees and those type of ecosystems. But I think increasingly, like you rightly said, especially in our areas in and around Pune and Maharashtra, we have this very important ecosystems which we need conservation. And it's good to know that there's a lot of work which is being done and people are doing more and more on that. So we
Yes.
take some questions. People had one of the questions was I think we already answered that. Uh, So I think Yogesh had mentioned whether the rocks in Hampi and Badami are they basalt also, right? I think that was his question.
That is actually some of them are granitic, and some of
Granite. Okay, sorry. Yeah. I think Vishaka wanted to know what edifical means. I think she answered that. She found that out, but you can confirm that.
yes, yes. So edaphically controlled means controlled by the soil conditions.
Okay, got it. And her next question was whether novel species are the same as endemic species.
No. And novel species means the species which are newly described. So I showed one graph. So can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can see the screen, but it's a large screen. I think the thank you screen is being seen. You
Now I'm
can, yeah.
changing the slide. So
Yes.
okay. So these are the species which are described after 1990.
We cannot see that screen now, Aboli. You
Uh,
can, you would have to go and you can
okay.
just actually in this screen, the presentation itself, you can go on that slide. Probably it will come.
Now can you see?
Actually, I cannot see. Maybe others can.
Sorry, sorry. I'm extremely facing
Yeah.
this network issue. It's the problem from my
Yeah.
side.
So you can actually go to the presentation, not the slideshow, but the presentation and just,
Yes, I just escaped my slideshow. Can you see my presentation?
yeah, but it's at the last slide. Thank you.
Okay, the slides are not okay. I've actually changed the slide. Uh okay.
Maybe that's the
Just
share
wait.
that screen then.
Mm,
I understand what you were saying. Ki novel species are those that have been recently found, but are many of them also endemic? Like, do they end up being endemic as well?
They end up being endemic. In fact, they end up being very narrowly endemic. Like a friend of mine described one species of Eriocolon. So it's Eriocolon. It's called Eriocolon parvicephalum, and till now that species have been found only at 3 locations in Konkan. So there have been no other reports. So they searched a lot for that particular species, but what you said is absolutely correct that they also tend to become endemic and very specific, narrow endemic.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Uday also has talked about geophytes. I think he's again mentioned what are geophytes, that they are perennial plants with underground storage organelles which help them survive harsh environmental conditions.
Yes.
So like bulbs, yeah. Mm. So Uday's next question was, are there any ongoing efforts to take the abilities of these unique species to live in harsh habits and hybridize with crops to enable them to survive in harsh conditions? Yes, very
Yes,
interesting
yes.
question.
Yes, yes. So there is one working group. The name of the person is Jill Farrant. So her group is actually working on this. They're trying to isolate, or they're trying to actually point out which particular genes are important for desiccation tolerance, and they are also planning to do these trials in crops.
Okay. Okay. And that's happening I mean, India also is part of that study or?
India is also part of study. In fact, my PhD guide, Dr. Mandar Tatar, is Dr. Jill Farron's collaborator. So,
Very nice. Okay.
have since almost 5 years, there are various different types of studies on desiccation tolerance which are happening. So, me and my colleague Smriti, we worked on ecological aspects, like, where they are distributed. We came up with a checklist of plants. So, we added new lists. And then there are following students. Mandar sir students who are working on different aspects of desiccation tolerance. So yes, there is work going on.
Great, great. So Damini has mentioned that though she is not from ecology background and couldn't understand some scientific terms, but she understands that this ecosystem is really important. So she wants to know, is there any law to protect it?
Uh, okay, so right now what is being done is somehow there are various researchers, conservationists who are working in this area. They're trying to change the category of these landscapes from barren landscapes to some different categories. So they're trying to make it into a different category, something called as open natural ecosystems. So the effort is for both rock outcrops.
Looks like we lost her suddenly. Just a minute.
Interruption.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Aboli. So you were talking about the laws to protect this thing.
Okay, so yes, so I was saying that there have been some efforts. So first to uh, change the category of them being barren land. So right now, Geological Survey of India classifies them as barren lands. So first of all, we need to change this category. So since last almost 25 years, a lot of these ecological studies and geological studies have actually helped, and right now there is a process, or I would say there have been some discussions which are happening so that this category changes. Once this category changes from barren to something else, then it is possible to offer some legal protection to some areas like Mahabaleshwar, Pasgani, Kas. they have been declared as eco-sensitive zones. So there is right now some kind of protection which is happening. And also, very, very interestingly is in the area of Ratnagiri. So Dr. Aparna Matve have been working in the area of Ratnagiri and Devgarh and all the Konkan plateaus since almost 10 years now. And there is a lot of community participation. So this is a very, very interesting thing which is happening, that people are so aware after her efforts that they want to protect the landscape. So there have been various efforts by locals itself to protect it.
That's great. I think that also answers the next question. Like, is there any increased protection to these areas and species? So yeah, I think that's wonderful that when local communities also understand and get into the picture, because only then I think there'll be more strength in like we also are doing in with Pune River Revival. When the local people understand the importance of the riparian ecosystem, then there is more strength
Correct.
in
Yes,
making sure that it is
absolutely.
protected. Yes.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Sally had a question. What are the fundamental differences between which we can cite between, sorry, what level,
Yeah. High
low
level
level
ferry.
ferricides and high
Yes.
level ferricides?
Yes.
Yes.
So the formation of high level ferricretes and low level ferricretes is different. So there are two different theories associated with it. So for high level ferricretes, it is said that uh, the weathering happened because of the high rainfall and the high temperature over the years, and the rock which have been there underground, I mean on the under the layers of different rocks. So the above layer is actually uh, what I would say weathered, and the laterite is exposed. So this is what they say for high level ferricretes. For low level ferricretes, there are two theories associated with it. First theory says that a part of the crest of the Western Ghat actually fell in the Konkan region, and the laterite formation happened there. This is one theory. Another theory says that there is in situ lateritization in the Konkan area also. So there are two different theories associated with it. And also because of the different history, geological history, the kind of vegetation which is there is also different.
Hopefully answers Sally's question. So, yeah. So yeah, a lot of people have thanked and found this session very informative. Girija had a very specific question that has the presence of petroglyphs on Konkan Sada also help in high level of awareness among local people. So
Yes,
we
absolutely,
also
Girijan.
need to tell about what petroglyphs is. Maybe some
Yes,
people have heard.
yes. So petroglyphs are kind of drawings in the rocks. Okay, so if you haven't seen one, then definitely go to. There are actually more than 300 petroglyphs which are found in different parts of Ratnagiri Rajapur area, and these drawings are very interestingly of different species. Like there are elephant drawings, there are rhinoceros which are actually not found in Western Ghats. So there have been various theories associated with it, like whether these animals were present in parts of Maharashtra before many years and people knew about them, or whether people were traveling from different parts of India and then they came and then they actually, so it is like a carving in the rock, very, very huge carving. So there is a very interesting documentary on petroglyphs. Um, in Konkan, there are some NGOs like Nisarga Yatri. There are some people like Rizbud and Thakur Desai sir who are working on these petroglyphs. And also, if I'm not wrong, Archaeological Society of India, there is one, I forgot his name. There is also one group which is working on petroglyphs. So they have made a very interesting documentary on petroglyphs. So if you are interested, do watch it. So it's really a wonder, like how can they make such huge carvings? It's very, very interesting. So do have a look at the documentary, and whenever you get a chance, do actually go to some of these sites.
Sure. I think that's an important thing which you mentioned, that I think these documentaries which get created, maybe hopefully little bit these things also could be done for these rocky plateaus and all, because people, the mass actually is attracted only to such type of uh, what do you say, media, which
Right, right.
the
Yes.
information, yeah, spreads very well in such documentaries. So I think maybe going forward, we can have some good documentaries, which all, or maybe even films on rocky plateaus and how they are, how useful or
Definitely.
how valuable they are. I think that will really help us to, yeah, like make them as like heritage sites, like what Saili has mentioned.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So she's saying that around 2,500 plus. So, yes, it's much more than what I knew. The
Yes.
petroglyphs have been found now, and they are in the process of getting listed as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So, yes. So, this is,
Correct. So the interesting flora which you said, the insectivorous type of plants, the ground orchids and all of it, that can be all made into a nice sort of movie and glamorous movie. I think that will really help to take the
yes,
information to more and more people. So that's
yes.
very, it will be very inspiring. Yes. Yes. Anybody? So we will stop here. We are at 9. But if somebody has any more questions, we can take them. Or somebody wants to say something, yes. So yeah, Aboli, yeah, maybe if you have time, you can also come and meet us. Our team does a lot of flora mapping on the riparian
Yes,
stages of
definitely.
Mula and Muta. So I think it will be good if we meet you sometime, and we also, I'm sure you have enough knowledge to pass on our river ecosystems also. The plants and flora which is found there. Usha is
Yes,
here
yes. I
today.
would
She has
definitely
helped
love
a
to.
lot. Yes,
Yes.
it will be wonderful to get more information from you. So thank you very much, and I think it was a very, very, what do you say, informative and enlightening one, eye-opening one. And let's all also make sure that this information we pass on to our groups, and all these beautiful ecosystems are conserved for the long term. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.